Well, good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this session. Asia anchors the global economy. What an extraordinary gathering FII is. This, its 7th edition, whether you're here with us live in Riyadh or tuning in online or indeed catching up from around the world, welcome. Well, as many of our guests already know, Asia is a region that absolutely pulsates with opportunity. Nations including China and South Korea continue to rise. The Asia Development Bank predicting that Asia and the Pacific will grow by 4.8% in 2023 and 2024. So, as investors cast their eyes eastwards, what are we to make of these extraordinary opportunities and changes? Well, I'm delighted to say that my 3 guests this morning are extremely well qualified to help us answer this. Let's welcome them one by one. Tong Li, to my left, is the Chief Exec and Executive President of BOC International. She's Chief Exec of that organization. She has 20 years experience in China and international markets. She successfully led BOC International in the world's largest IPO, very well known in this country, of Saudi Aramco, and of course one of the model projects for serving the Belt and Road Initiative. She's also a member of the IFF Board of Governors. Tong Li, a very warm welcome to FII to you. Thank you for being with us. Next to you is Tracy Ma. Tracy is the co-founder and co-president of Hillhouse Investments, where she is a founding member. Now, Hillhouse, our guests will surely already know, is a global asset management company with businesses spanning public equities, real estate, venture capital, private capital, as well as growth and buyout private equity. And interestingly, over 50% of Hillhouse employees and partners are women. By no means least, Tsai, on the far end of our panel, is the founding partner and chief executive of 500 Global, which she co-founded in 2010, and she's led the firm's growth over the past decade, fascinatingly from a startup accelerator to a multi-stage venture capital firm with over $2.7 billion under management. Interestingly, over 50 companies in that portfolio valued at over $1 billion. FII, please give a warm welcome to our 3 guests. Thank you for being with us. Now, if we only had a 6-minute panel, guests, and therefore you only had 2 minutes to speak to the opportunities you see emerging across Asia, what would you say, Tong Li?
Many friends may be very curious about what's happening in China, what's investment opportunity emerging. Is China losing its speed? So I will be happy to just share with our friends some information about that to let you know more about what's happening in China. What's the future of China?
Yeah, well, that is a tantalizing starter. Is there a misconception about China, Tong Li? Something that people see but don't understand?
Might be. Just why we are here, just to tell more about what's real China to our friends here. First of all, just if I may, allow me to say hello to my Arab friends, because I have been with FII for all the 7 editions.
Good.
So many friends here, so delighted to see you. And so I will say in local language, Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome back, Tong Li.
So I've been with FII for so many years. So really thanks FII for having me all the way.
Well, you're most welcome back. Tracy, how will you get us started? A thought starter to get our minds into the region.
We invest in traditional business. We see great opportunities for traditional business leveraging technology to reinvent their business and move up the value chain. Using technology, these mature business can greatly improve their supply chain and manufacturing. Just adapt to the markets quicker and make the world better.
Yeah, well, that desire to make the world better, we might pull on that thread more. Just remind us of the range of types of businesses that Hillhouse is backing, because it's a fascinating portfolio.
Yeah, we invest business, in traditional business in sectors like climate, energy transition, business services, consumer, healthcare.
So a huge range. Now, Christine, you're based most of your time, I believe, in the Bay Area. So you have a very interesting perspective because, of course, your investments stretch far and wide. Help us get thinking.
Great. Well, it's really nice to be here on this panel. To put it into perspective, if I have 2 minutes, Asia represents 60% of the world's population. When you think about the population that is online, by the end of 2023, it's projected to be about 5 billion. So that means there's close to 3 billion that still has yet to come online. We recently published some research that takes a look at the global kind of macroeconomic view of largely venture activity and identified 30 markets which we have dubbed the rise economies, which are the fastest growing markets after US and China. And there are trillions of dollars of potential value creation coming out of these rise economies. And about 11 of these 30 markets are in Asia. So that is the macro view of why you should be looking at this market. Now, in terms of our own on-the-ground work, 500 Global started in 2010. We had a global vision from the very beginning to invest both in Silicon Valley, US, as well as around the world. Asia, the APAC region broadly, we have been there since the very beginning and have been investing in those markets, for the past 13 years. And what we see on the ground is, close to more than 20% of our overall portfolio comes from the APAC region. We have 11 unicorns. We've had 4 IPOs, 3 of them on US IPOs. And our second biggest hub after the US is actually in Asia. So it is
just
exciting.
Remind us then, Christine, if we were to sort of click in on the zoom of the map, countries in particular, cities even, that stand out because they're attracting your attention as an investor.
Certainly. Well, for 500 Global, a large amount of our activity in Asia is in Southeast Asia in particular. So for us, we invest quite actively Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, as well as Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and multiple countries aside from that. Those are just kind of our core focuses.
Yeah.
And we are not active in China, but I think with the markets that I just mentioned, both from the macro level as well as, again, our own investment into these regions for the past more than a decade, we are very excited about the opportunities. We've seen the intense growth in those markets from 2010 all the way to today in terms of startup activity, and it's only going to increase.
Right, so we're going to drill a bit deeper into China in a moment. But Christine, while I'm quizzing you, to what extent is it true that entrepreneurs are the same the world around? Or are there certain characteristics that you notice stand out as you are pitched to by entrepreneurs from across this region?
Yes, there definitely are. Every successful founder is different, of course, and I think it's important to take into account and embrace the cultural differences in every market. But I do think that there are some qualities that are agnostic across nationality, country, and so forth. And a lot of it is really that ability to persist and move quickly, to be coachable, really seeking feedback from customers, from investors, and really, if you can get a sense of this at the very early stage, which is where we like to invest, we're often the first or one of the first institutional investors into a company, and we have an opportunity to work with many of these founders much more closely than other investors do. You can really get a sense of how they operate, and the ones
but I'm
that
tempting you, aren't I, to generalize on the flip side about characteristics that define this region. Are you able to do that?
It's interesting because when you say Asia, people probably think different markets, and I'm coming at this from a perspective of being primarily based in the US. I am Asian American, so I have my view, and our firm has a certain view on what Asia is, and it is not a monolith.
Yeah.
It is not just China. It's not just Southeast Asia. It is so diverse in terms of when it's like saying Europe, right? Countries in Europe are very different. Same for Asia. So I think when it comes to characteristics, I think one of the commonalities that we've seen in certain markets is that many of them do tend to stick to their home domestic market, and that's not necessarily an innate characteristic. It's just that is kind of the state of startups and venture market in many of the in broadly across the region, that they just haven't seen those examples.
Yeah. So why don't we think more broadly about investors? Many of them with us here at FII, Tracy. How can they capitalize on particularly high growth markets? And why don't we focus in on China, your expert area?
To tap into Asia's faster growing markets, it's key to leverage Asia's robust business ecosystem, especially in the area like digitalization infrastructure, consumer acquisition, and also business operations. Since I'm in Riyadh, let me share an example related to Middle East. It's about one of our portfolio companies carve out from the carve-out of domestic appliance business from Philips. Since the carve-out, we have been working with the Philips management team to adding on new categories, leveraging Asia's manufacturing ecosystem. In the first year of working together, we launched 8 new products, including a new business line of air fryer. It's doing amazingly well in Middle East and still has a lot of potential. So there's other products that's doing well in the Middle East as well, and including floor care and coffee makers. Now Middle East become one of the fastest growing area of Philips.
So can we just stay on that example for a moment? There you have a global company in Philips, renowned for its scientific engineering expertise.
Yeah.
What do you think it was about that relationship that made it successful? Is there advice we can use?
It's about working together. I mean, incentivize the team and help them grow the business and doing better. So we have more than 200 people, deep value creation team. So working together with the portfolio company. For example, still let's use Philips as the example. So since the date we invested, we have been applying technology across its entire business line. So from supply chain to manufacturing, so consequently improve their productivity and efficiency. As a result, we reduced their time to market cycle for new product lines from 1 to 3 years to 6-9 months.
Oh wow! So you've really shrunk that down. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I might turn to you for examples of mistakes that investors make as well as they focus on China. But perhaps some initial thoughts, Tong, on advice for investors, particularly targeting China.
China, if we date back to the beginning of the century, the first decade of the century, China grew at 10.6%, annually. And then next China became the second largest economy in the world in 2010. And the second decade of the century, China grows at around 7.4% annually. And during the pandemic year, only 4.5%, the slowest one for these decades, but still well above the world average. And what happens this year? It's expected to achieve 5% growth. So China still remains the powerful growth engine of Asia and also for the world.
Yeah, so you've answered the question you posed at the beginning.
Yeah, so speed is a little bit slow, but we just shifted the development concept. The quality comes first. So China has been advocating the enhance the technological innovation. And so in terms of the unicorn, maybe unicorn, Tracy, Catherine will give a deep dive. In terms of this, in China, they have the 170 unicorn currently, which is the second largest one in the world.
And China founded unicorns, your point is.
Yes. And the largest world's unicorn is from China.
Yes.
So it's not what we are talking about, the investment opportunity. It's here. China has already in the leading position in terms of renewable energy, technological, some innovation such as digital.
And a good spotlight on that here at FII. Tracy, can I just draw you back to that question on mistakes that investors make? You must have seen a few firsthand. And briefly, Tracy, on that, would you take us to those?
So we focus on quality. We invest in quality business and working together with them and just help them evolve the business model and achieve the next level.
Well, that's the right thing to focus on. But when you see an investor try to enter the Chinese market and struggle,
work together with the right partner.
Yeah. So they haven't found the right collaborator. Is that the point? That's where it's fallen down. The
working with
collaboration.
the right partner.
I mean, can I ask a personal question, Christine? You have so far not engaged in China as a market. What would it take to change that state for you to really get engaged?
I think our focus has largely been on what the markets that I mentioned in terms of a lot of the more emerging nascent economies that we see opportunity in, largely from initially it was from looking at the potential in terms of the population, tech penetration, talent, valuations are certainly a consideration. Early on, of course, China's valuations relative to other markets like Southeast Asia or Latin America or even here in the MENA region. There was a lot that was very attractive about investing in these other markets, and now our focus is really to continue to invest across these regions and go deeper.
Yeah. Now, I suppose the distinction being with Tong, Li, and Tracy, you're sort of backing sort of very large global businesses. Christine, you've got your eye on the next unicorns, decacorns. Speak a bit more about the ones you see emerging across Asia.
Well, right now, I think in terms of the unicorn concept, I think we're all probably suffering a little bit of a hangover from the last few years. There was certainly unprecedented growth in venture funding, and it peaked really in 2021. And now we're seeing a lot of, there certainly is a lot of pain in the market, both in the public and private side. And at the unicorn stage, many of these companies have not been able to sustain those valuations. So, and founders are now having to deal with operating on growth at all costs to now suddenly kind of whiplash almost, investors really pushing them on profitability, which ultimately is more sustainable. But so I think in the short term, from the venture perspective, the outlook is a little bit cloudy in terms of the unicorn stage, but very bright on the long term.
But in terms of subsectors, what are the points of light? Where are the standout, thriving examples that you're seeing today?
Right now, it's really at the early stages. So I think one of the things to keep in mind, every time that there is a recession or crisis, we see this time and time again over the last 20 years. And certainly one of the biggest examples you remember is out of the dot-com boom and bust. And of course, 2008, you see iconic companies coming out of those hard times. So that's why I actually think 2023, 2024 are going to be excellent vintages. Companies that are starting, there's independent of market cycles, technology does not stop.
Okay.
So when you look at AI and the actual very significant platform shift that is happening, that's the big opportunity. And that is not a Silicon Valley only story. That is a global story.
Right. Now, well, let's talk more about that global story. Tong, Li, you have some extraordinary financial ecosystems, Beijing, Singapore, Hong Kong. So we're particularly interested in how these centers can coordinate globally in terms of things like technology, talent. How do you see it with your sort of regional lens?
So thanks, Audie. I would like to ask you a question first. So guess how many financial centers among all the top 20 international financial centers in China.
Oh, are in China? Great question.
There are 4. So Hong Kong, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing. So if in terms of the market cap in total, so 15 trillion US dollars for all these 4 international financial centers. And a sound financial ecosystem is a foundation for sustainable development. China has the largest banking system in the world. Other than that, the capital market is still strong, and it's foster technological innovation. So I give you an example. In Hong Kong, Hong Kong has become the second largest financing center for biotech companies.
Yeah, so this is massively helpful food for thought. I can tell we're going to get beaten by the clock, but Tracy, as we look at consumer trends, things that you would draw out, and Christine, I'd love your take on this from the pitch decks you're seeing as well, but what would you tune us into?
So we invest in traditional business like consumer retail, consumer manufacturing. So they are mature business. So we basically use technology to help them evolve and achieve to the next level. Would like to share the example of Barrett. Barrett is the largest integrated leading shoe manufacturer globally, and also it's a leading leading shoe
manufacturer.
Yeah. So and also a leading sportswear distributor. Yeah. So since our investment, we work with the Barrett's management team, integrated the technology tools across their entire business line. So we enabled the front door salespeople become the stylist of their customers.
Yes.
So armed with digital insights and mobile solutions.
So it's sort of interesting to think of that as sort of almost beyond tech. So tech fueling the growth of some very traditional, significant businesses. So
tech is digitalization. Tech is a great has a great enabling effect.
Yeah. Can I ask Christine a broader question, which is many of the entrepreneurs we've heard from FII, they are interested in financial success, but they are impact driven. They're talking about financial inclusion, banking the unbanked. I wonder if you'd speak a bit to that trend and how it matches with what you see in the entrepreneurs you meet.
Definitely. I think that, first, I think there's one thing that we've seen a lot, not just in the past recent times, but certainly over the past decade plus, is that there are a lot of businesses, either their target customer or what they're building, it may at first blush come off like an impact story and thus may not be attractive to financial investors like 500 or other VCs. But I think to double click on that further, those are not mutually exclusive. So I think when you consider, say, the unbanked or rural populations that could benefit from more technology, these are actually very massive opportunities from value creation perspective. So I think that, or if you're targeting underserved populations, like it could be women, it could be minorities, it could be, again, more disadvantaged populations in rural Asia. I think the thing to keep in mind is that these are actually, again, massive opportunities from value creation perspective. So those two, I think, can go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely hand in hand. Well, we are hugely grateful for the work you're doing and also for giving us such a brilliant insight. I hope our guests at FI will agree. So I'm going to say a huge thank you to Tong Li, to Tracy Ma, and to Christine Tsai. Thank you very much indeed. First class. Thank you.